All right, let's jump into the Week 16 Sunday six-pack. All right, another sweep. So you got more work to do again. 60-46, down by a couple of touchdowns.
Call the fight.
I mean, hey, it's all you need is one good week. But yeah, so we for those unfamiliar, we score our top two is 2 points each. The third bet 1 point each. Just in case there's happens some weeks we don't like our all the bets equally, and total's worth a point, and if you sweep the spreads, you also get a point. So that is that, and I am also first this week. So to start us off with the first pick of the Week 16 six-pack presented by FanDuel, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers plus 3.5 at the Miami Dolphins. And I think Green Bay can have some success here on offense. Miami likes to play man coverage. They like to blitz. And Aaron Rodgers, he still destroys the blitz. His passer rating jumps from 89 when not blitzed to 103 when blitzed. The Packers are also they've been a lot better, more efficient against man coverage this season. 8.3 yards per targeted pass against man, about over a yard lower against zone coverage. And Rodgers is graded as number 3 against the blitz. So maybe he deters them from blitzing, but they pretty much blitzed everybody. And I think Green Bay, with this healthy group of receivers now, I think they're going to be a little bit better or a lot better, I should say, than that offense that we saw earlier in the year. That was just kind of really a tough watch, to be completely honest. I mean, they just couldn't really do much. Everything was kind of a few yards at a time, and if they got in third down, it was just over. But now with Watson here, he can beat man coverage. So if you look at his numbers in yards per route versus man coverage, Christian Watson 4.3, second in the NFL among 96 qualified receivers. Allen Lazard's also top 25 as well. So now Green Bay actually has some receivers that can beat man. Dobbs is better against zone, and so is Randall Cobb. So they got some options for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Miami defense is very good. They're a little bit better with Bradley Chubb, but still not a strong Miami defense here. And then on the other side, I still think that Tua is not going to kind of recapture that early season form. I know he got a long touchdown against Buffalo, but you look at his last 4 games, and the completion percentage has been down. Defenses are starting to figure out, where to line guys up and kind of deter some of those throws over the middle. Packers, they love to play zone, and sometimes to a fault. So I think they'll at least have the formula. We'll see how successful they are, but I think they have the ingredients on defense to make a few stops here, and I like their offense to score some points as well. So like both sides of the matchup for Green Bay here. They're going to be motivated, obviously. Both teams are going to be motivated here, and I think Miami's been a lot luckier than Green Bay this season. If you check our Action Network luck rankings, Miami is the 9th most lucky team. Green Bay's 27th. And when you have a differential of 16 or more, which that is, it's 18, 16 or more differential, 33 and 20, 62% against the spread since we started tracking it in week 3. You also have, I like to look at just late in the year, just see what's like week to week, what kind of wins, how the market's pricing things. And it turns out that when you have a week 16 road dog and they're facing a home favorites that has 6 to 8 wins at this time of year, so right around 500. The road dog is 46, 24 and 3, 66% against the spread. And Aaron Rodgers 11 and 4 against the spread as an underdog in the Matt LaFleur era. Before that, he was actually 15, 17 and 1, going back with McCarthy, Philbin, and whatnot. So like the Packers here, haven't bet on them too much this year, but I think this is a good spot for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning the game.
Yeah, I agree. This would have been one of my picks if you didn't take it first. I think I'm now 12. I had the under. I had the Rams team total under. I think I'm 12 and 1 in Packers games. Nice. So I've had a good read on them. out on them this week. And this game's in Miami in December, but it's not going to feel like it's in Miami in December. It's going to be cold, just like everywhere. It's going to be windy, which I think favors Rodgers and this offense. And yeah, I mean, look, speaking of luck, I was saying all year how they were getting very unlucky on like fourth downs in the red zone, but they were still able to move the ball consistently on the ground through a short passing attack. And now they're healthier at wide receiver. I think Bakhtiari has a good shot of playing this week as well. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they've had some injuries, but they moved some guys around, especially in the secondary. And I like the way that they've been playing recently, and I think they've made some nice adjustments there. And their defense is still vulnerable against the run, but that's okay against Miami. If Miami's going to come out here and run the ball a bunch, I think you would prefer that. But most importantly, Green Bay is very good at defending the middle of the field with their specific defensive schemes, and that's what you need to do right now against this Dolphins offense. So, yeah, I think that these two teams are not that far off. The Miami defense is terrible. I mean, just look at what they've done all season long. And I said this, go back to last year, and that's when they had a much healthier secondary. Miami played, I don't know, 8 or 9 backup quarterbacks last year. Anybody with a pulse this season or last season gets to 30 points against them. I mean, right around there, 28 to 30 points. So I know it's going to be cold, and I actually don't mind this over again, but I like I think this is I think that this line should be a field goal or below. And I think that the Packers might take this, and they're going to be right there in the hunt to somehow steal a playoff spot in the NFC. If someone slips up, and they could potentially get to a game where it's maybe playing, you win and you're in against Detroit at home in week 18. But yeah, I agree. I like the Packers here as well. I think Rodgers was a little banged up too. And, now he has his receivers, but I think that he's healthier now and playing a little better.
I was just going to say, don't look now, but Green Bay, number 2 in offensive DVOA since week 10. So, I know Christian Watson just scoring a lot of touchdowns factors into that probably. But yeah, I like how Green Bay is playing as well, and totally agree. I think their defensive scheme can drive their own fans mad sometimes, but it's actually a pretty good scheme for Miami. It's kind of, they don't have to change much, and they should get enough stops to hang here.
Yep. All right, for my first pick in the second overall of the Week 16 6-pack, I'm going with the New England Patriots plus 3.5 against the Cincinnati Bengals, who seemingly cover every week. I think that they're 18-4 against the spread of their past 22 games, including the postseason. They're on some crazy streak right now. But just like last week, I played Tampa plus 3.5. I think it closed closer to 3. Would play that again. Now, there was 4 turnovers, a fake punt, and, everything just kind of went to shit. But, Tampa Bay had 400 yards since he had 230 yards per play, 5.7 to 3.8, 3.8 yards per play for the Bengals. And why was that? Well, there's some injuries that the Bengals have. T. Higgins played. I don't know if he's fully healthy, but most importantly, it's on the defensive side of the ball. Now you lose Sam Hubbard. We'll see if Trey Henderson will play with his broken wrist. You have injuries in the secondary. Even today, I'm trying to think who popped up with Eli Apple popped up with an ankle issue today. Mike Hilton's dealing with an issue in the slot. You already lost a Wouzier. Even Cam Taylor-Britt, who I think is going to play, the rookie, he's been playing pretty good. He's banged up. But, the Bengals now are laying 3.5 on the road a week after they beat Tampa, but I downgraded them a bit. Tampa beat themselves. The Bengals averaged 3.8 yards per play at 230 total yards of offense, even with Winfield getting hurt and a couple other Bucks getting hurt in that game. So, yeah, I didn't upgrade them, and I have the Pats as a better team than the Bucks right now. And now they're going on their second straight road game in the cold. There's going to be wind. I think that favors New England. If you want to neutralize the passing attacks a little bit, obviously that's going to help the Patriots in this particular matchup. And I think with some of the injuries, we'll see if Hayden Hurst goes, that Cincinnati is dealing with. I think that this line is too high. This, just like last week, I think this line should be under 3. So I'll gladly take the hook in what I think should be a lower scoring game. This Bengals team has been a covering machine on a huge winning streak. By the time this game starts, it might have clinched the playoff spot. They have the Bills on deck, second straight road game, but they've been getting fortunate in a lot of these games. And I think that this is just like last week. I think that right now they're at their peak of the market value. Everyone wants to bet the Bengals, and that's why I think that we're getting the hook here over the key number. I would bet this up to plus 3.5, minus 120 in this particular game. And yeah, I just think that the Bengals are overvalued by a bit right now. Still legit Super Bowl threats, but dealing with some injuries. And I think the Patriots will be able to get a little bit of pressure. They'll be able to run the ball. Cincy's run defense is a bit vulnerable. And hopefully at the end of the game, Jacoby Myers doesn't throw the ball backwards if it's tied. Which in one of the wildest endings I've ever seen.
The Raiders too, of all teams to get the Raiders, man.
Insane.
Yeah, like honestly, you're braver than me. I don't want to bet the Bengals, but I don't want to bet against the Bengals right now. It just my only loss betting the Panthers came against the Bengals, so I'm kind of shell shocked off that still. But yeah, I mean, you at all work? Like, what do you think of Mac Jones? Like, I was looking at his numbers from last week, and against a terrible Raiders secondary, he completed.
He was awful, 50%.
Yeah, but like to wide receivers, because like, listen, like they don't use their tight ends, and they're talking about every pass can't go to a running back, but yeah, the wide receivers, he went 4 of 17 for 71 yards. Like I don't like against the Raiders, bro. Like I don't know what's going on with him and Patricia and his offense, but it just completely lost it. So like that does kind of worry me against the Patriots, because like sometimes they look competent. Like against that Minnesota team, they looked competent throwing the football, but they also still lost that game by a touchdown. So yeah, I don't really have a good feel for the Patriots, to be honest. I never know what I'm going to get from Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not completely sold on him, but I have this as under a field goal. It's a great spot situationally, and I think when you factor in the Bengals injuries, I think getting over a field goal here is very generous, and it's a little bit scary, but that's usually a good sign in the NFL. So yeah, let's hope that. And by the way, the Bengals are my in 2022. I did do the action wrapped. The Bengals, I think, because last week I lost, so now I'm 8-2 on Bengals games this year. I bet them every game in the playoffs and Super Bowl last year. They were my most profitable team.
Wow. I thought it would have been the Ravens
in 2022.
I thought that would have been the Ravens. That's crazy.
No, I mean Ravens. Ravens don't have any playoff games, so there wasn't many 2022.
True.
And I haven't bet them that much this year, but yeah,
you actually haven't. You just don't see. You just not seeing them out of value. You just don't even want to like sweat it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty close to the market on some. They've also had such a lot of injury uncertainty, and I've teased them a bunch. I actually did lose the teaser last week, even though. I don't know how that lost, but I was like 16 points and you couldn't cover a 9-point teaser. But yeah, I just think 3.5 here is too generous. I'm going to take it, and hopefully Patricia doesn't vomit all over the field.
All right, let's hope he does. We might have to go with our coach's pep talk to him now, because we gave it to Saturday last week, and I mean he covered.
Yeah. The pep talks on a roll.
All right, for my second pick and the third overall of the week 16 6-pack presented by FanDuel, I'm going with the New York Giants plus 4.5 at the Minnesota Vikings. And well, obviously we've talked about this. The Vikings, this is the time of year where you want to fade them. They've just started out incredibly lucky, but I really like the matchup for the Giants in this game. So we know that the Giants on defense, what are they going to do? they're going to blitz even more than the Lions do, even more than the Dolphins. They are number one in the league in blitz rate under Wink Martindale, former Ravens defensive coordinator. So because they're first in blitz rate, they're also first in man coverage rate. Well, Kirk Cousins has not been good against the blitz. He's not been good against man coverage. And Giants are up to fourth in pressure rate. I mean, I think it's probably all Kayvon Thibodeau in the span of like 3 plays last week, but they're first in blitz rate, but they're also fourth in pressure rate. So, that's a little better than when you're, kind of middle of the pack in pressure, even though you're blitzing so much. So, Giants defense kind of quietly improving there with some of the young guys playing well, and Kirk Cousins passer rating drops from 98 when he's in a clean pocket to 79 when pressured. His PFF grade, against the blitz is a 53. That is 36 of 39 qualified quarterbacks. He's really everyone else in the Cousins range has already been benched or didn't start the year as a starter, was already a backup. When he's blitzed, his completion rate drops from 68 to 56, yard per attempt 7.5 to 5.5, and his passer rating goes from 96 to 80. And that yards per attempt, 5.6 yards per attempt when blitzed, second lowest after Carson Wentz this year. The completion rate is fourth lowest. So, and it could be even worse because he actually has the third lowest drop rate on passes when he's blitzed. So he could easily be completing, under 50% of his passes against the blitz. And this Minnesota offense, they have one of the greatest receivers of all time, and a lot of good players at the skill positions, but 22nd in weighted DVOA, 20th in passing offense, 26th in rushing offense. And that's after factoring in and weighting more heavily that game last week against the Colts. So they put up, over 500 yards. So this offense has just been, something's a little off. It's really weird because talent-wise, I feel like they should be better, but it's week 16 now. So you can't just say, things are going to change. Like, at this point, this is kind of what they are. Meanwhile, the Giants defense, not great from, kind of in certain metrics. They're 29th in weighted DVOA, but because they're so well coached, they are making plays when it matters and excelling in situational football. They're 5th on third down, and they're 4th in the red zone. And again, it's week 16. So I do think that is at least part of their identity at this point in the season. Minnesota is, let me see again. And then on the other side, this Minnesota defense, not very good. They finally started to switch up their scheme a little last week, and they played some more man and blitz more, and I think they played some more cover one, but it was against the Colts, who are ranked, I believe it's dead last on offense. So I wouldn't take too much from that performance last week. This Giant offense, this is the craziest thing. Remember I said the Viking offense, 22nd in DVOA? The Giant offense is 12th. So the Giants somehow, with no receivers, with, just Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, where he doesn't even throw touchdowns, they've somehow, and no offensive line for half the year, they've managed to be 12th in DVOA, and they're top 15 passing and rushing. They're 9th in passing DVOA somehow. 9th with no Justin Jefferson. They are 19 spots higher than the Vikings. It's just ridiculous. Like, something's talk about reasons to fade the Vikings. Something's just a little off here. This team's getting outgained by over 40 yards per game. And I think this, yes, the Giants are coming off a bit of a shorter week than usual because it's Saturday and they played on the night game. But again, Saturday road teams, doesn't matter if you're a favorite or an underdog, 55-32 against the spread, 63% since 04. Under Daboll, the Giants are 6-3-1 straight up when they're an underdog. So they've won 6 out of 10 games outright when they're an underdog. And of course, they got that tie against Washington. And Daniel Jones, 15-5 against the spread as an underdog, 13-5 as a road underdog against the spread. That's 72%. And when the spread is under 8 points and he's a road underdog, 11-1 against the spread. So I'm gonna keep fading the Vikings until it stops working, and I'm gonna keep backing Daniel Jones and this Giants team that always finds a way, whether it's ref assists or whatever it might be. They seem to find a way. So give me the G-Men plus 4.5 against Minnesota.
Yeah, I did see that the Vikings did change up their defense last week, which I thought was refreshing in that their defense has been bad all year.
The scheme
So
too.
that Donatel, that was able, like they're gonna okay, let's try something new. So we'll see if that translates into better results, mainly speaking for down the line. But yeah, they like doubled their man rate and almost
blitz
doubled their
rate.
blitz rate.
Daniel Jones been good. He's been good against the blitz, by the way. He's been like pretty solid across the board, actually, no matter what you throw at him.
Yeah, he's been really good this year, especially when you consider what's been around him. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Vikings' problems on offense has been the pressure that they're giving up in the interior, and that's where I think the Giants can really focus here. We'll see if I mean, look, it apparently is. Garrett Bradbury is way more important than I thought, especially for this offense. But Ed Ingram has been really bad, and yeah, you got I think we get Schlottman if Bradbury can't go. So there's some holes in that interior, which is where I think the Martindale and company are going to try and blitz. Thibodeau's playing really well. I don't know if the Giants are going to get. Is Adoree Jackson have a shot this week?
I don't think so. Let me check the injury report because it is Wednesday. It always throws me off. Nah, he's still DMP. I would be shocked if he.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really scares me here. Is just the mismatch in the secondary. But I think that the Giants are just going to say, "Look, we're going to blitz and get pressure on Cousins and force him into mistakes." And yeah, I mean, I show a little bit of value in this number as well. And this is the Giants just ugly up games, find a way to keep them close on the road. And the Vikings, they've won 10. Their last 10 wins have all been by one possession. So like we said last week, such a high chance the Vikings win this game by 3.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Vikings special teams have also been a disaster.
Yeah, man,
an absolute disaster.
And like I really can't get over the fact that the Giants have the better pass offense by DVOA. Like you talk about obviously Justin Jefferson is scary to bet against each and every week, but it's like that just like speaks to whatever's going on with the Vikings. It's not just the interior line though. Kirk Cousins hasn't been great. Like he's got a better scheme around him. He's got a good skill players, but Kirk Cousins just kind of been laboring out there, I feel like. And that's why you look at he's getting his yards, but his yards per completion is I think at a career low point or near it. So I don't think he's been good, but
I think since week 10 EPA per play, though he is second behind I think Goff, but a lot of that is like in comeback, like he's gonna get so much credit for coming back from 33-0 against the Colts, but
and the Lions he threw for 400, and that was an 11-point loss.
Yeah, the other thing is like on the fourth and like because of their interior is struggling on 4th and 1, and Cousins isn't a great quarterback sneaker. They like won't quarterback sneak, and it's costing them. It cost them like 2 drives in a row at their own 30 last week. So that potentially could kill drives. And their special teams is playing really poor. And yeah, this is just a below average team that keeps getting lucky. And they were getting lucky in one possession games. They were getting lucky in the red zone. They were getting lucky in fourth quarters. All that still happened last week. Not with turnovers, and they still have some turnover aggression coming. You saw it last week; they got a couple unlucky whistles, but I don't mind taking the G-men here on the Road Warriors.
I wish there was like some because I'm really starting to. I know we talked about this early in the year, and then we kind of we just took the Giants. We didn't really hit on it, but like this coaching for this team now that we have almost a full season of a sample size, like just looking at some of the things. Like it has to be coached. Like how the Patriots would always outperform the Pythagorean win total.
Yeah.
It's like this Giant team is pretty much a top 10 pass offense in DVOA. They have no receivers. That's got to be coached. The defense, bottom 5 in DVOA. A lot of bottom 5 against the run. Almost any metric you look at. But then top 5 on third down, top 5 in the red zone. Like that's coaching. Like it's kind of absurd. So yeah, I think that's kind of one of the reasons you just take.
Yeah, that was the main reason I was super high on them coming into the year. Why my favorite win total is just the coaching upgrade across the board. And yeah, if you look at what they're doing for Daniel Jones without all the talent and with some of the deficiencies on the offensive line, it's like Dayball has just really simplified things for him. It's like, all right, let's flood everyone to one side of the field and then just focus on here. And then you just have like 2 layers worth of throws to look at. Don't worry about trying to progress all the way across the field. And he's just made it really simple. And Jones has picked that up. And the play calling has been great. And they kind of are just working with what they got. And everything across the board. And like in-game decision making is always strong. And obviously the blitz style of Martindale really fits this team because they really struggled to get pressure last year. And look at their pressure right now. And once they get some corners back and Dory Jackson back and they can work on that secondary, then next year that defense could be really dangerous.
What's my favorite thing that they do, and then we'll move on, obviously. But one thing that they do that I think probably has, if not won them a game, at least like sealed it for them. But they've done this quite a few times. Is late in the game they're in clock killing mode and it's handoff to Saquon. They'll do the fake handoff to Saquon with Jones just bootlegging out and just running, and he'll get 15 yards every time they do it because it's just a perfect play call. And the defense just thinks they're going to hand it to Saquon again. So like simple things like that, I just see the Giants doing that I feel like a lot of other teams could learn from, because this team is definitely has no business being as successful as it is given the talent on the roster.
All right, for my second pick of the fourth overall, the Week 16 Sunday six-pack, I'm going with the Washington Commanders +7 at the 49ers. This one is painful, yes, but right off the bat, I show a little bit of value in the line, and I'm catching 7 on the road in a game with a total of it's down to 38. We have talked just how many times we brought up Shanahan at home, how bad he has been as a home favorite. And a lot of that he's going to play really conservative, especially when they're the superior team. You're going to see him a 4th and 1. Like a perfect example is when Purdy got the offside, drew the offsides, end of the quarter, come back and he punts on 4th and 1 at the 42.
Yeah, what was that?
Against Seattle. He'll kick a field goal on 4th and 1. Just there won't be the most optimal decisions to kind of extend the lead here. And he's kind of on your side in a way when you have the dog. Washington, look, there's word of maybe Carson Wentz. The only thing that, if it was like, hey, this isn't a Carson Wentz podcast, but the only thing I do like when there's 2 quarterbacks who just aren't great, if the coach is like, yeah, I might be thinking about making a change, because he was maybe going to make a change last week, he said, before the touchdown drive that Washington had, is that if one quarterback is a disaster, you can and these 2 quarterbacks are just high variance. You can bring the other one in to see if he has anything. But yeah, I just think, and look, speaking of high variance quarterbacks, we still cannot say with certainty that Brock Purdy is what Jimmy G was. And, it's only been a couple of games. We've seen quarterbacks, including Taylor Heineke, have a lot of success for a couple of games, and then you get film on them, and look, Brock Purdy's been really good, but he's still Mr. Irrelevant. He's still had about 3 throws so far that should have been picks that were either wide open drops or some terrible penalty call. That Bucs game comes to mind. There was a couple in that game, and the Seattle wide open drop when Diggs basically was thrown right to him, and so he's had a couple rookie questionable mistakes here, and now there's film on him. We know Washington's run defense is excellent. That's San Francisco's bread and butter, and I think that they're going to make Purdy beat them deep, and we'll see if he can do it. No Deebo Samuel here. San Francisco clinched the division last week. Washington's playoff hopes on the line, and we talked about Heineke and this Washington team on the Giants last week. No, we do not want them as a favorite. No, absolutely not. But they're the new Jameis Winston. We can always look Washington as an underdog, especially catching 7 in a game with a total of 38.5 against a coach that has historically been horrendous at home as a favorite, especially of 7 or more. So, yeah, I think this Washington defense will play out. There's still a lot of talent on the offense. The San Francisco defense is playing out of its mind lately, but I think this is the peak of the market. Now, look, Purdy could end up being like the next Tom Brady, and then I could be off on this. But I'm willing to take that risk catching 7 here. And again, that I think will be low scoring.
Yeah, this has been a weird couple of weeks with this Washington team. I feel like last week somehow like the Giants were the square side. Like everyone in the public was betting the Giants, but
yeah,
sharps are on Washington. I just didn't get it. Like I'm never gonna change a bet or not make a bet because of public action doesn't affect what's going on in the field, and I just didn't get it. And sure enough, it's just exactly what we've seen every other week from these two teams. So, and now no one's talking about Washington. No one wants to touch him. They're 7-point underdogs against Brock Purdy, making his third career start. You wanted to take Washington as 4.5, 5-point favorite against a team that they didn't cover against 2 weeks ago, but now just radio silence. I don't know. I think everyone's kind of Washington just throws people off. It is a weird team, but yeah, I can't argue with this one.
Yeah, Washington, but I'm looking at their results right now. Let's see. Since Heineke took over, it's like home dog against Green Bay. They covered dog at Indianapolis. They covered dog against the Vikings. They covered dog against at Philly. That was after they lost at home. It covered a dog at Philly, win outright. Then they beat Houston on the road. They've been pretty good on the road. And yeah, then they cover against Atlanta. A little bit fortunate.
That should have been a loss. I'm very familiar with this because I just wrote it up last week in the Sunday night preview. I'm like,
yep.
Heineke got super lucky. This is not the time to invest in them when literally it was their biggest spread of the year. And now
they've been the favorites 3 straight times, haven't covered. Yep.
Now it's his biggest underdog spread. Oh no, the Eagles.
Well, no, they were dogs against the Eagles, but they won that game outright.
And so the point. This is when you want to invest in a team like this. And it's not even just Washington. This is generally just, I think, a good example of just how you bet the NFL in general. It's you only have 32 teams. You're gonna have to bet on some teams and players that probably don't like that much.
Yeah, and this is the tip by. I mean, San Fran's been covering, and you got to remember, San Francisco's been great. Their defense has been elite, but I mean, if you look over the course of their schedule overall has been extremely easy, mainly because that division has been extremely easy. But I think the Washington run defense here too, that's what San Francisco wants to do. They've already won the division. Like, you're not getting the 1 seed. You want to get Purdy some reps. You can't get him hurt. You don't want to show too much. So I'd say this will be a classic Shanahan conservative game, I think. This probably ends up like 17-13 San Fran. Something like that.
Luckily, we kind of
and San Fran doesn't give up 17 to anybody, but that's fine here. They can, but Washington can easily get to 14 and still cover this.
I distinctly remember a game between the Niners and the
9-0. I had them plus 10.
Yes,
they covered. Yes. They lost 9-0.
Yes, and that was their Super Bowl year, I want to say, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pouring rain in Washington.
I can see something like that. Maybe it would be 9-0. They'll get a Christian McCaffrey touchdown, miss the PAT, and then tack on a field goal. And that, yeah.
Yeah. And another thing worth noting is that this game is like it's on Christmas Eve against the Commanders. San Fran already clinched. It's not going to be the greatest home field advantage. It's not going to be this raucous crowd on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I mean,
and think about that a lot. Some of these stadiums, keep that in mind for this weekend.
Maybe that's why the road teams cover so much. Maybe that's it. Because a lot of Saturday games are around this time of year. Like most Saturday games are because they're either the week or the week before. Yeah. So
yeah, keep that in mind, especially for the really cold games. Like in teams, it's not a big game. You're gonna have a lot of people like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that don't necessarily love betting on, but sometimes I'm going to take the plunge for my third and final pick, the 5th overall of the Week 16 6-pack presented by FanDuel. I'm going with the Houston Texans plus 3.5. See if you can shop, maybe get a 4.5. But like this at anything over a field goal against the Tennessee Titans. Like Malik Willis is looking like the starter in this game.
Yeah, Tannehill's out for the year.
Yeah. So listen, I know if they beat the Texans 17-10, Texans got ran all over. We'll talk about that, why I think it could be a little different this time around. But let's just keep something in mind here. We're talking about getting more than a field goal for a quarterback that threw for 97, that led them to 97 net yards passing in 2 games. 97 in 2 games. He averaged under 50 yards of pass offense per game. It's 2022. Like, I don't care who you are. We just saw this Texan team take the Cowboys to the wire, one of the best teams in the league. And then they come right back and take the Chiefs to the wire, one of the best teams in the league. So has this Texan team given up? No, that's all I need in a spot like this, because the Titans obviously are in the thick of this division race. They're going to be playing hard. The Texans are playing hard as well. And the Texans have been hanging with, I mean, frankly, the Texans have probably been playing better than the Titans these last few weeks. So, like it here with getting the backup quarterback and getting over a field goal. And Houston's defense, last time they faced Derrick Henry, they had the worst run defense in the league. There's been a few teams that have kind of taken that crown at different times. I think the Lions, the Seahawks, the Bears probably in that category. But Texans are the worst run defense in the league. Derrick Henry, they couldn't stop him. Okay. Well, Houston's defense generally overall has been much improved since then. They are up to 14th overall in weighted DVOA. They're 16 pass and 20 rush, but since week 10, they're actually 10th in run defense DVOA. So this Houston run defense has essentially improved about 20 spots, from where they were last time they faced Derrick Henry. Now, they're still going to give up some plays. We saw that with Jerick McKinnon, but generally speaking, this is a better defense all around, better on the ground. They're facing Malik Willis. So I think not only can Houston cover here, I think they're a live dog. We've seen this before. I want to say you had them either as a dog or a money line dog or just on the spread, but it was like plus 11. I think Tyrod Taylor was starting for Houston or something, and they just flat out beat Tennessee in one of those years when Tennessee was really good.
Yeah, Tennessee had, I think, 5 turnovers. And they were wire to wire easy winner.
Right. So, this is a division game late in the year with a Houston team that's playing very hard, and I think they're throwing teams off with this, quarterback platoon, and it's kind of working out. Dameon Pierce, losing him obviously hurts, but remember, the Titans, one thing they still have done well, throughout all of this, because even their run game, it's been up and down this year with Henry, but they still defend the run well. They're number 1 in run defense DVOA. So, losing Dameon Pierce in this game, not a massive deal, because as you're still going to have to cobble together offense with your quarterback platoon, and might get some Brandon Cooks back here. But I just, watching Houston play these last couple of weeks, they just passed the eye test. They're kind of hanging on here. I think Andy Reid was gushing about their scheme and their coaching. And, I take his word for it, because he's one of the best to do it. And you don't hear him do that a lot. So, just give me the Houston Texans in this spot as divisional dogs late in the year against this Titan team starting a quarterback that hasn't led them to 100 net yards of pass offense, and he's already started 2 games. And also remember, Mike Vrabel is 22-14 against the spread as an underdog, but just 19-22 as a favorite. So this is this kind of spot where you do want to fade this Tennessee Titan team who, they haven't topped 17 points yet in a game with Malik Willis, and the Texans have 23 against Dallas. Should have been 30 because they blew a clear. They could have challenged and got a touchdown on the red zone, but they wanted to use the clock, thinking they'd get in, so they didn't. Could have had 32 weeks ago against Dallas and won that game, and then they have 24 and are driving in overtime and muff the ball. So this Texan team, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. I'm not gonna ask questions. Just lose by If we lose by a field goal or win the game, Houston, I'm taking you against Tennessee.
Yeah, this scares me a little bit. I mean, yeah, we'll see how they hold up against Henry. I mean, what's hard for me is the Titans have so many injuries. Like if they have all these guys out, then I like it. And we don't know who's going to play. I mean, you're talking like, are they going to get, Nate Davis, their starting guard, didn't practice today. Fulton still didn't practice. Even Dennis Daly was out there. He was limited today. Their center, Ben Jones, who's really good, didn't practice. Terrence Mitchell, their corner, got hurt. He didn't practice. Tannehill's out for the year. Danico Autry, he was full. That's big. I think he's important. Trey Avery was limited. I mean, I could go on. Armani Hooker didn't practice. Petit Ferrer was limited. Jeffrey Simmons didn't practice. Treylon Burks was full. That helps. They have like 30 guys on the injury report and like 7 or 8 important players haven't been playing on defense. So there's a lot of uncertainty with the injuries, and it does scare me what Henry has done against the Texans. I mean, he's gone his last 4 games, he's gone 32, 219, 2, 34 for 250, 2 touchdowns, 22 for 212 and 2 touchdowns, 32 and 211 and 3 touchdowns. He's run for 200 plus in 4 straight against them with multiple touchdowns in every game. So that does scare me a little bit.
But most of those games have been close, though, if I'm not mistaken. I distinctly.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't mind if I had to take it, I would take the points here. The Titans are in free fall mode, but cold game in December against a dome team and who has nothing to play for. Titans in like desperation mode after Tannehill went out. So like the spot scares me with like, is Henry just going to be bouncing off guys the entire game? And then like, do you really trust Davis Mills on the road outdoors with just throwing it up to Chris Moore? But
I mean, after watching him the last 2 weeks, I trust. I mean,
indoors though, indoors.
I mean, okay.
He's been real bad on the road his whole career. We'll see. I don't mind fading the Titans as over a field goal favorite.
It's about the Titans. Like the Texans are just the team that I'm fading the Titans with, and the Texans happen to be playing well or feisty enough. That's all I need. I just Malik Willis has a top 17 points, so just lose by a field goal. Give me 17-14, and I'll be out.
All right, for my third pick in the 6th overall of the week 16 6-pack, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys -4.5 at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is kind of a well, first of all, I do not think that Jalen Hurts is going to play.
He's doubtful. I'm pretty sure that means he's out.
Yeah, I'm almost positive of that. And I am making an educated guess here that this might sound crazy, but I do a lot of crazy things, that the Eagles are throwing this game. And what I mean by that is they don't care about it, and they don't really want to win it. They don't want to show Dallas anything. I really don't think that Hurts how is he hurt? He came back in, he looked fine. He threw a 70-yard bomb. I just think they're worried about getting healthy. They can clinch the division next week at home against the Saints. And by the way, they want to beat the Saints because they get their draft pick. And I don't think they're going to show much. They don't want Dallas to see their defense, their offense again. So they're probably going to have to see Dallas in the playoffs, either them or the 49ers, to go to the Super Bowl. So, I don't think they play Goddard. I think that they're not going to show much at all. I think if they get behind, then, and by the way, the Eagles have not been good on the road. I faded them again last week on the road, and I think they're 2-5 against the spread now. And this is the Cowboys Super Bowl, and I think that they'll be able to run the ball, and that is the only time I really trust their offense. And when the run game is going, they still were up 17 last week at Jacksonville. I think this is a good buy low spot on Dallas. But you don't have Gardner Minshew played last year. He played against the Jets defense. And if you recall, the Jets defense last year was poverty, was so bad. People forget that. People forget how bad the Jets defense was last year because they're so good. Gardner Minshew doesn't have the same running ability, in the read option, in the design runs as Jalen Hurts, which really makes that offense so dynamic and so difficult to defend. He's also, hasn't played in a while, and now he's going up against a defense that can generate a ton of pressure on the road in a stadium that'll be in a frenzy. This is not an easy task, especially when you consider RIP to the GOAT, Mike Leach. Like he he missed the walkthrough. He was at Leach's funeral earlier this week. So, and when you have a backup starter, you want to get as many reps as you can, especially on a short week, the second straight road game. So I think this sets up as Dallas's Super Bowl, be able to run the ball, be able to get pressure on a backup quarterback, and then it just snowballs in the Eagles. And I think that the Eagles ultimately don't care. The way that Sirianni is, and the way that they just are, look, we want to focus on the Super Bowl. We have bigger aspirations. Let's not show anything here. I think, look, let's beat the Saints next week at home, or Dallas loses at Tennessee. And
it would only be right that that's what would happen.
Dallas could lose at Tennessee, by the way, and they would already know that they clinched the division. Clinched the overall 1 seed. But I think that they might want to get a game in. I don't think they want to go a whole month with resting starters, but I don't think they bring Goddard back. And I think the snowballs early, gets away from the Eagles, and they say, I don't care. And they just go, it's not like they're going to quit, but I think they're just going to go very vanilla. They're going to go very vanilla on defense. You're going to have a backup quarterback in there. You're not running any of your read option stuff with Gardner Minshew against Michael Parsons and company. And I think Dallas, look, I played a little bit on the open. I would play it at 4.5. I don't show a ton of value. I don't show a ton of value in the line, but I also I still would play it up to 4.5. I also money line them with the Bucks. We'll talk about that in best of the rest. I think all the Cardinals corners are out. Trace McSorley is starting. I think the Cardinals second half of the year at home, they lost like 12 straight home games. So I think a good money line parlay. By the way, how about my money line parlay again? Never in doubt against the Texans.
Never in doubt.
I thought that was in trouble, but at least I money line parlayed with the Chargers, who didn't cover and then won. So I felt like it was worth it.
Yeah, no, that's peak Chargers. Like that's exactly what they do.
Chargers. So yeah, I money line Dallas as well. Just because their defense, their defense still has some injuries in the secondary, but at least they're going up against a backup here. And I also do like the fact that their offensive line, Tyron Smith looks really good at right tackle. He hasn't played there in a game since I think 2011, his rookie year. You get that reshuffled offensive line, had a game under their belt from last week. But yeah, I think this is like Dallas's Super Bowl versus the Eagles are like, we think we're better than you, we don't care. And then it's going to, with a backup quarterback, and then it's going to snowball, and they're just going to kind of cruise and like, I don't care, we're not showing anything. We're going to make sure we get out of here healthy. And they just have bigger goals and aspirations. Now, I could be completely wrong. Like, Hurts could end up playing, and this is all smokescreen, and they should. But I think that's the. Now, look, they could clinch everything by beating Dallas, but that's no guarantee. They would be an underdog, and it would be a 1-point underdog anyway. So I kind of get the line of thinking, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. So, but yeah, I'm going with Dallas here on a little bit of a gut and intuition play.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mean, I thought I saw somewhere that Hurts was doubtful. Looks like he's still listed as questionable on the official injury report, but it sounds like he's not going to play. The market seems to think he's not going to play. So that's a really good point. And remember, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, but they did something similar to this against Dallas. And Minshew started against Dallas with like Devontae Smith played a few snaps. Everyone kind of started, but they kind of gave up quick, and Dallas won 51-26, 51-26. Dak stayed in. I think it was the game before the playoffs. And neither team had anything to play for, but Dallas played and Philly didn't. And Minshew went 19 of 33 for 186 yards, threw a pick, couple of touchdowns, but Dak went 21-27 for 295 and 5 scores. So yeah, that you can see something like that again, because Dallas needs this, especially after blowing a game to Jacksonville. So I'm sure Dallas,
Dallas will be motivated here at home, kitchen sink game. And I don't think when Minshew's played with the Eagles, he's like it's all to Dallas Goddard. And I don't think they're going to play Goddard this week. I don't think they're going to rush him back. So I think this is a little intuition play. Now, if Hurts plays and they go all out, I might look dumb. But even if these two teams played at full strength, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Dallas could win by a touchdown in this spot, and the Eagles have not been good on the road. But I really don't think Hurts is playing, and I really don't think that the Eagles care that much about this. Very vanilla, and I think the the Cowboys getting pressure on Minshew here is going to be the difference, in addition to the Cowboys run game getting going. And that's when I think their offense is working at its best. But I think it's just kind of Super Bowl versus Sam, and that's all it is. So give me the boys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at you make a good point because I'm looking at the injury report right now, and as you mentioned, 10 starters missing practice, just no non-injury, just straight up rest day when you have a backup quarterback. That's kind of
And the game's on Saturday.
Easy. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's kind of peculiar. So, yeah, it could be. It's weird though because this is another one where I looked in the action app and I see the sharp signal on Philly. It's like I just don't get some of these some of the sharp plays, or quote unquote sharp plays, I should say, lately. Like, remember we were both baffled at the why they were on the Dolphins -3.5 against the Chargers, and it was like,
yeah,
like our intuition was right, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the Eagles injury report today, they rested like 11 starters.
Yeah. Like Kelsey, Bradbury, Slay, Graham, Sweat, Cox, Dickerson, Sumalo, Lane Johnson, AJ Brown. Like, yeah, and like this is a backup quarterback, so you need the reps. And Minshew
that missed the walkthroughs early in the week because of the funeral.
Yeah, so that's quite odd. But who did practice, even though he's questionable, third string tight end Tyree Jackson. So that might kind of that lends credence to what you're saying about maybe they hold Goddard out. That's why everyone else get a rest day, but the third string tight end is practicing with a knee. Like, why did he gotta practice with a fucking knee injury? Every fucking team. That's some foul shit, man. Yeah. You're probably right about this. That's a very very good call out there, because that actually might help me rank some of these guys project some of these guys for fantasy. That I won't project them for like 100% snaps. Like even if Goddard is active, it might.
Yeah.
All right, so that is gonna wrap it for the week 16 6-pack. Stuck. You got the Patriots +3.5, some Mac Jones, some Heineke with Washington +7, and some Dak with the Cowboys -4.5. And I got some Aaron Rodgers +3.5. With the pack against the Dolphins, got Daniel Jones +4.5 at Minnesota. And I don't know who it is. Davis Mills, Jeff Driscoll, won both with Houston +3.5 against the Titans.